All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another wonderful episode of The Bill. Oh, God.
Bert, I can't stop laughing. Keep finishing up. I can't stop laughing. Go ahead.
All right. Pod.
Yes.
That was the worst one ever.
So Jim, the last time we did one of these, I took my creative time to wait to say my name. He goes, The Bill. And I waited. And he goes, don't ever do that again because you leave me sitting on the screen like this.
Yeah, like the reporter. Anyways, we have the wonderful, legendary, the funniest dudes I ever met, quick comedic mind. I'm trying to just give him all these compliments to watch him get uncomfortable.
It really does bug me too. I hate it.
I mean, he really is. He's somebody who's driven me to get better as a performer.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Take it, Jimmy. And he's been crushing with the Jim and Sam show on Sirius Satellite Radio. A legendary comedian and radio broadcaster. You might recognize him from his star-making turn in Spider-Man.
That's more like it.
What else did I see you in? I saw you in something else where they had you with more than 2 lines in the back of a van. I saw you in something. You were good.
In the back of a van?
No. The Spider-Man thing, you were standing in front of a truck. But I'm saying I saw you in something else recently. I don't know. I watch shit and I forget. Like last night, my wife was watching Reality Bites. And she goes, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. And so I sat down and I watched it. And David Spade had like a bit part in it. I was thinking like, oh yeah, this came out in 94. He'd been on SNL for a couple of years. I don't know what that was sort of a non sequitur there, but welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bert. I think your intro was pretty good, actually. It was smooth. You guys are doing good.
So, Jim, how much money were you making when you worked on O&A?
What's that?
We like to do the hard-hitting interviews, Jim.
What did you say?
I said, how much money were you making when you worked on O&A?
I started making...
Oh, I was joking. You don't have to tell me. But
okay, yeah.
Please tell.
I think that's already on Bobby Kelly's podcast.
Did he ask me? I don't even remember if he asked me.
No,
yes.
Bobby Kelly has a Patreon with Ant. And the clip that he used, Ant was mentioning some of the figures, and didn't talk about your money.
They were astronomical, and I always wondered because there was this. You always, as a listener, you always knew that Opie and Anthony had big deals, and I always knew that you always had the attitude of like, I'm just happy to be here. This is a great gig. It's fun. You kind of were like the Sherpa for getting comics in on the show. But when I heard Ant say he was making $10 million for a 2-year contract, I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, my God. Do you know what's funny? What you just said, in all the years I know those guys, is the first I've ever known what they made. And all of these years, I never knew what Opie and Anthony made. I never asked. I knew that I could find out, but I didn't want to know. I had no idea what Opie and Anthony were making until you just said that. That's funny. When I started on Satellite with them, I was making $52,000 a year in, I think at WNEW. And then I think that's what I started at XM, 52 a year. And then it wound up doubling to 100. And then I wound up going higher, but I never made close to $1 million. I mean, way less than
that. It's so crazy because it's, I think if you had told me when I first started listening to the show, they're making $10 million every 2 years, I would have been like, that's more money. They'll never need to, because when the confidence they'd have when things got shut down, when they got fired, I was like, what kind of fucking paychecks do they have where they go, right, I don't have to work anymore. I'm good. And then you go, oh, that makes sense.
Now, was that on Satellite or was that on NEW?
I think it was on NEW, to be honest with you. I think that's what he shared with
okay.
Bobby. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense because there was a rumor that they were making like $30 million a year. It might have been less on Satellite. I don't know. But I know that in Satellite, when we went to K-Rock at one point and we got syndicated to like 7 or 8 markets, I don't know what they were getting, but they gave me a really nice bump. It was almost like $10,000 a market. So, I mean, for the major markets and like $7,000 for the smaller markets. So I'm like, if I'm getting that, and those guys were just both being pretty generous with me, what they must have been getting must have been a lot more. But I never wanted to know.
Here's the question everyone wants to know is when is there a possibility? You guys are like the Eagles or like Guns N' Roses. Are we ever going to get the original lineup?
No, together? I don't think so. I don't think so. No, there's too much bad blood, and it's all like, I get why bands break up. Me and Anthony are still very close. But again, Ope has his point of view. He blames us. We blame him. I mean, it's how everybody blames each other. That's how it is when a relationship collapses. That's why there's prenups, because, the wife says one thing, the husband says one, everybody looks at their shit differently. So it makes me kind of bummed that we won't. But I don't think there's ever a path back.
Well, here's my prediction. It's going to happen.
You think so?
I do. Yes. I think so too.
I think by the end of this decade, or the end of this coronavirus, who knows? It's a weird thing that brings people together. So how have you been doing? I don't want to sit here and talk about your past the whole time.
You can.
You're sick of doing that. But the Jim and Sam show, when that came out, everyone was kind of like, well, let's see, how is this going to work? Everybody knew Jim knew you from being on the air, and Sam would pop in or whatever. But you guys have been like really, really successful. And during this pandemic, you guys have been able to continue broadcasting. You're still doing 5 days a week and everything?
We do 4 days, Monday through Thursday. We go 7 to 10, I think. That's why they gave me this great equipment. It's the only reason I sound decent is because they sent me equipment. But yeah, I mean, it's good to be doing that, and the UFC podcast. Like, I'm being able to do that shit so I can at least work and make the money, because fucking comics who can't do anything right now, it stinks. Like, just sitting in the house, podcast. At least you got a podcast, or you got F is for Family. To not be able to do anything would be fucking horrible.
Yeah, if this shit happened back when I first came to New York, I would have had to eventually, a couple months in, I would have had to just left my apartment and gone back home to my parents. I mean, I've been thinking about that, as far as like, I feel very fortunate that this shit happened when I'm where I'm at now. So, but there's been some stuff. We did some stuff at the Comedy Store for comics, and Netflix is going to do something for comedians or whatever. I hope, it's not enough. It's not enough too. But I was thinking the other day, I have not done stand-up since March 10th. Yep. And I was trying to think of my act. I just can't, when this whole thing is over, I want to be down at the clubs the first night as we're all hanging on the mic stand like fucking open micers, trying to remember what the hell with like poise, but like the material of like, I don't know, a feature actor or a new open micer or something.
Dude, every comedian is going to be doing hanging on the mic stand. We're going to think that there's such a wealth to talk about, and stand up there and go, fuck, how crazy was that? And have no jokes. It's just going to be a comment on how crazy everything was. And nobody wants to hear every comic doing a bunch of Corona jokes. Like if we can all get a few decent ones, but I have a feeling people are going to be so fucking sick of hearing about it. Like, I'm sure there's guys writing Corona novels right now about the lockdown, and I can't wait to see those fucking bomb and make no money, because everybody's going to be sick of talking about it.
You know what stuck in my head the other day? I started to write a bit, and I went. I was at the grocery store the other day, and I was like, "Wow, when we get off of this, everyone's gonna be like, no, you weren't. You weren't at the grocery store." I was walking down the street, and this guy bumped into me, and no one touched you. You haven't been
no, he didn't.
In months.
Yeah, you were home. You were doing nothing.
I think it's going to be like, you guys were all in New York during 9/11, right?
No. I was in Jersey, across the river.
No, I mean, like, we all lived in New York City during that whole time where everything shut down and everybody's like, is anything ever going to be funny again?
Right.
And I remember, like, within like 4 to 6 weeks, it was sort of back to normal, as far as just like the shit that you were talking about. And so I think it'll be basically the same thing, but I don't know.
Were you at the Cellar, Bill, when that happened? When we were talking about how do we get back into being funny? And one of the things we were doing is we were all sitting up. It was Keith and Patrice, and a bunch of us were talking about our daydreams. We all had 9/11 daydreams, like, what would I have done if I was on the plane? Well, yes, the fantasy. And Patrice's, at the end of his, was so awful. At the end, he said he would get into a cab and say, take me to Brooklyn. Like, he had such a shit fantasy. And Keith's fantasy was that he would know that they were terrorists, and he was walking onto the plane, and he was going to hit the flight attendant. And when the cops came, he was going to go, those guys are terrorists. And that was his secret fantasy of how he would have stopped the attacks. So we went on stage and started making fun of this asshole and how awful his daydream was. And that was kind of how we got into talking about it. But it was like just by shitting on each other, was how we started talking about.
That was Patrice, and we all went up that night. And we all told our heroes' fantasies. I remember Patrice's. He jumped out of the plane. Like, the plane was on the ground. He fucked everybody up after they landed, and he didn't wait for the jetway. He jumped. I think it was his. Somebody jumped out and landed on the tarmac and said, "That's what happens when you fuck with America." And I remember in mine, I took everybody out, Born Identity style, and then I also landed the plane. And I thought my hero fantasy was as big as it could be. And then I forget whose. It was Patrice's. Somebody's was they jumped out onto the tarmac, landed like the Hulk, and said, "That's what happens when you fuck with America."
That the only one I remember specifically, I don't even remember my own. I'm sure I always try to fantasize, like even when I'm jacking off, I always try to keep it somewhat true to life. Like, so for me, I would have had to have, like, it could never be that I pulled a gun out and shot them. It would have to be like I talked to them and I reasoned with, some fucking weaselly thing that I probably would have done.
They recognized you. Hey, did I see you on Conan O'Brien?
Yeah. Hey, you're funny.
I like this guy.
Yeah, this guy's on the radio. Yeah, some nonsensical, childish fantasy. But yeah, that was how we got back into it. I remember Keith's, dude, I've been watching you. It's funny, on Friday you had press. You're great in King of Staten Island. I've watched most of it, and I'm having internet issues. Judd sent me a copy, so it's hard for me to watch the whole thing because it keeps getting like dropped. But you're fucking great in that, dude.
Yeah, congratulations, Bill. You really are great in that. That pilot looks great. Leanne is or that movie. And Leanne has never said this. She's so excited about watching that movie.
It's great.
Oh, yeah. People have been really responding positively to the trailer. So we shall see. This is sort of new territory where there was some kid movie. I don't know what it was, that when this shit first started and they just put it online somewhere to stream and it crushed.
Trolls International.
Trolls, yeah. So everybody's hoping that the same thing that happened with, parents with little kids, that, people who are just bored out of their minds, hopefully are going to pop on and watch that thing. But that was all, Judd and Pete and all of them. Thank God. Yeah.
Well, it's too bad that
you fucking asshole.
It's too bad we're in quarantine and Pete Davidson can't start fucking Condoleezza Rice and get some press for it. Jesus Christ.
I missed that. What?
I stumbled all over it.
No, let's hear it again. It sounded funny.
No.
I mean, it's Condoleezza Rice, which is a very modern reference.
Yeah, come on. Come on, you got a fucking a Jim Baker reference? Come on.
You should have had a newspaper out. You're like a political comedian. You just named somebody in a president, like 2 presidents ago's cabinet.
Oh, fuck.
Well, this is why I love Bert, because
somebody obscure now.
We got on.
Ferrara.
Dude, you stumbled like Mondale on the election. Boo. We came on, and the first thing Bert's changing, because the first thing Bert says to me is, "Did you read that article in the Times?" I'm like, "No, of course I didn't. I did not read the article in the Times." What article, Bert?
Comedy Central's going away forever.
Is that really true?
Yeah, that's what they said. They fired everyone, and they said the title was "End of an Era." And
here's the thing: you don't get credit for reading the New York Times, because that article had affected your life. If you were like reading the New York Times about Condoleezza Rice or something.
That's right. Yeah. Or how it looks like Anna Wintour and Vanity Fair are in trouble now. Like, is this the end? Because there's a new book coming out from her old assistant. Like, that's an impressive thing. But yeah, you're right. Comedy is your life.
I should get credit for signing up for the New York Times and the LA Times, because you're right, Bill. Every time you go, oh, God, interesting article about the coronavirus. And then you click it and you're like, you've already read your 3 articles, asshole. And you're like, fuck off.
Do you get 3? I get kicked off immediately.
Me too.
Like, I'm just like this relative that always wants something. I get in like a paragraph and I like how you guys haven't been trashing me for my smoothie with the straw here.
I didn't even notice it, to be honest with you, but anything is acceptable. It's amazing how like shit that probably would have made you look awful at one point, I'm just like, hey, good for you, staying healthy. Like, my karma is such shit. I'm just
Oh, so it's not even a COVID thing. You're trying to turn around pre-COVID Jim Norton.
Maybe, yeah. But I mean, COVID is kind of just brought into like, I'm just so restless and uncomfortable and ready for this to be. I feel like I did for 24 hours in the New York blackout, which is this is never going to end. Even though I know it's going to end and I know shit's going to get back to normal, I feel like it's never going to fucking end. So I'm just trying to like be a good person, and maybe that will help. I mean, I don't know.
What was I would be very afraid to be in any city. Forget about New York City during a blackout. What was that like as the sun is going down and the people started coming up out of the sewers to feed?
You know, I was with a girl who I was seeing at the time who I really liked. She had a tattoo on her pussy, which was really sexy. And I just found a photo of myself and her too. She was really sexy and really dirty. And we were out in a Macy's buying birthday gifts for her. It was her birthday. I'm like, I'll take you shopping. We're online in Macy's with her birthday gifts. The fucking power goes out. So I actually didn't mind it because I had to take all of her stupid birthday gifts and put them down because we couldn't pay. So we walked out and her with no gifts. So that was the one upside, was I didn't have to buy her birthday presents.
Okay, I got to ask for the listeners, what was the tattoo of?
Hold on. Can we guess first? The Lincoln.
And also, I'm asking for myself. I'm not going to put it on the listeners. Anybody?
Yeah, Bert, do you have a guess?
I was going to say the entrance to the Lincoln Tunnel.
No, but that would have been awesome. Yeah, that would have been great.
I don't know. Anything down there is always some sort of a dragon or a serpent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, am I close? I'm close?
Yeah. Fucking Bill, yes.
Snake. It's got to be a snake.
No,
it has to. If you're gonna do something near your genitalia, there's also it has to have some sort of meaning. So they're not like, wow, you're just a fucking skank.
Yeah.
Like, no. There's thought behind this. Oh,
I see.
Dragon represents the new regime. What is it?
It was flame. So you had it kind of with the dragon. You were kind of right. It had it was fire. And I've seen a couple of girls with that. Like, she wasn't the first girl I've ever seen with fire on her pussy. So it wasn't that insane. But the first time I saw it, I was like, whoa.
Googling
so it was sort of familiar. You felt like you were at home.
Yeah, it didn't bother me. I mean, it was, she had such a nice one. I remember hers was so nice. And it was, yeah. You never seen that?
No, I see it. I'm looking at it online. Was it surrounding it all around like a Guy Fieri shirt, or just on the top?
No, it was just like on top, like fucking Heat Miser's head. Like it just kind of popped up off the pussy. It wasn't like all over the place or on the thigh. It just went like right above. It was nice.
She had a tattoo of backwards sunglasses on her ass. She's a big Diners, Drive-In, and Dives fan. You know what? Let's talk hacky tattoos. Speaking of flames, was I remember this one from the 80s, early 90s, is when you had the flames right here. Like you threw hands. You know, you had some Marvel level abilities. Those. And then every comic on their shoulder seemed to have some sort of like, there was always like a microphone and some sort of like a skeleton or something with the sickle, meaning that you were going to do comedy until you died or something. I don't know what it was.
Like it was just so natural which is, it's such a dramatic, it should have been, a tattoo of a guy with a half empty room. Like that would have been a more accurate tattoo. Most of those guys, fucking an owner panicking over ticket sales being terrible. There's a few guys that have those.
With your little wheelie luggage and your head in your hand.
Yeah, you didn't get upgraded again. Fuck. Row 17. God damn it, I hate being a feature. Yeah, that's mostly what comedy is.
All the defunct airlines you've flown, TWA, Continental, Eastern.
Dude,
you were a big Continental guy. I remember back in the day bonding with you. We both were flying out of Newark. We had all these miles with Continental. I forget who bought those guys out, but
United.
Who did?
United merged with them. So it's like, that's why the planes have the same logo, but the United, it says United, but it's got that Continental thing on the fin because Continental United and United merged.
Oh, okay.
I flew Pan Am once. When they went out of business, they started as a startup airline, and I flew Pan Am, and then I realized that a lot of their planes had been bought from like ValueJet and other horrible airlines, and they just bought the logo or the ability to license the logo. So it was like a fucking franchise airline. So that was probably the worst I've been on. Was the old?
Well,
was
in
the new
defense of
Pan Am.
ValueJet was somebody had something in their bag that one of those lithium batteries that caused a fire. So it would have taken down anything, but like that was just such an unfortunate name. There wasn't a lot of when that thing went down. You had to, comics waited about maybe 15 minutes. It was too easy. It was a layup.
I remember Jim had a joke when I first started stand-up. Jim had a joke, and he goes, I flew Tower Airlines. They call it Tower Airlines because the last thing you see before you hit it is the tower. He goes, I saw Wild West on that movie theater. I've never wanted a plane to go down more.
Did I say that?
Yeah, those are your jokes. Do you remember? It's crazy. I remember like weird jokes that people told long time ago that I just can't forget. I remember when Bobby Kelly was trying to rack up his miles at the end of the year. So he was doing quick back and forth flights. And he called into Opie and Anthony, and he was boarding the plane. And Jimmy goes, hey, Bobby, why don't you give the phone to the flight attendant? And he goes, sure thing. And you go, ma'am, this man has a bomb on him.
What?
Oh, no.
You don't remember that?
No.
Oh, my God. By the way, you might have said it before she got on the phone, but I was in my car driving to go play tennis with this old man, and I was crying laughing at Bobby giving the phone to the flight attendant.
What a stupid asshole. Why would he do that? Like, why would you never give the phone to another person? We've gotten a few people with that. Well, let me just want to talk to him for a second. But why would he do that? I don't know.
He was racking up miles.
Because he trusted you, Jim. He thought you were a friend.
Well, he would have been right if I wasn't on the air. But if you're on Opie and Anthony, what are we going to say? Hey, safe flight, sweetie. We have to say something. We have to be horrible.
I know. I do have to admit, a couple times when I sat in for you just for a couple of days, I don't think anybody understands what a grind doing 4 hours of radio is, especially the morning thing. Just looking at the newspaper. There was so many days where I felt like, it's got to be 10 o'clock, and you look and it was like 7:18, and you're like, oh, fuck. And then if the guest came in and the guest was a dud, you would just, I kind of understood why you guys fucked with everybody, but I've told this story before. One of the funniest things you guys ever did, and one of the cruelest things, which really was that show, was there was a time Leslie Nielsen called in to promote a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember this? Oh, and it was
vaguely.
It was bad enough that it was you three characters were in there. Nick DiPaolo was also in there. And you guys started making fun of him, and he didn't, he was old. He was towards the end there, and he didn't know what was going on. And you guys were shitting all over him. And I was pissed that you were doing it, and I was also crying, laughing all at the same time. And I think
I don't remember.
Out of everything I ever saw in that show, I was like, this right here, like they were ever going to make a sizzle reel. What exactly was the Opie and Anthony show? It was those mixed emotions of dying laughing and then just being like, oh, man, you shouldn't do that to somebody.
Yeah, that was mean. Yeah, there's a few that were like really mean that you look back on and you're like, but you're in the moment, you know what I mean? It's the radio show. It's outrageous and fucking crazy. So you'll say anything, in those moments, you forget that you're talking to a real person on the phone. Like you forget that there's a real human being on the other end of the airway that you're talking to. And you're like, then you kind of look back and you feel like a piece of shit. Like,
yeah, but you kind of had to do it because it really is. It's not like it's a script. You're just winging it. You're trying to get it to this place to see. Look, if you didn't do that shit, you never would have come up with that eggnog drinking contest, which to this day is the funniest, most fucked up thing. Do you know to this day when I tell that story, I can't tell it. And eventually I start gagging.
Yeah.
People, look up the Baby Bird, Opie and Anthony show.
It's funny. I talked about that, and I forget sometimes who was there. I forget sometimes that you were there and Rogan was there. And Joe's the one, I think, who named it. And we talked about that on his show recently. And, the great Pat Duffy was the guy, the intern, who was so goddamn funny.
Nathaniel, as far as I remember, it was Joe's idea. Joe goes, the only thing that could top that is if somebody put their head back and opened their mouth. And then Than, remember another fantastic moment?
Yeah.
I thought it was him because people listened to it and thought that I was the guy who said the Baby Bird. There's no way it was me.
I think it was Joe.
Joe or Nathaniel, but it was definitely Joe's idea. Joe was the one. I remember Joe too that night. He was playing Caroline's, and I came down to see him. You know, he's one of my favorite comics. And, you know, I was still living in New York, so I didn't get the chance to see him. So I came down to see him. When I came walking in to the green room, he had the biggest smile on his face. And he just goes, that was some great radio today.
Yeah, that's probably the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Dude, I remember coming home. I came home to my apartment, and my wife was there with Pam from Michael O'Brien's office, and I started to describe what happened. And in the end, I was literally on the floor crying, laughing, and I just remember Pam asking, she goes, where do they find these people? And I was just crying, laughing, going, I don't know. I don't know. Dude, that one guy, I'm going to gag. He had the fucking, there was literally, he had like a pitcher. You put a pitcher of beer in.
Yeah.
And he was puking into that. And then they dared somebody to take a drink of it.
Yeah.
And he took this other dude, he had this big Zach Galifianakis beard. Took like a Viking swig and like almost like gave himself a facial with it. I think that's when I almost went. Ari Shaffir was there too. Because that one guy, when he was puking, he puked for like a minute, and he would always make the exact same sound. And you know Ari with the low energy, he just goes,
yeah,
like total deadpan, was just like, sounds like it's on a loop. Like as this guy was puking.
God, I don't remember it because we had so many crazy moments and so many, like you always had to just top it. And, you know, and a lot of times in the retelling of things, they became fucking crazier. But one thing I remember was we had Tippy Tom was in studio, and he was a homeless guy. And I remember that I could be misremembering something, but I think he had shit in his pants, and it was hard. Like he had hardened shit in his pants. And one of our guys brushed his teeth with the shit. Yeah. Oh. That might be the craziest thing I ever saw. Let me amend my last statement. That might be the craziest thing.
Oh God, that reminds me when people put like charcoal and shit because it's supposed to fucking, and in food, I should say. All right, well, yeah. Okay, I don't know where to go from there, Jimmy.
We exaggerated a lot of things on the air, but those things like Baby Bird, the dog shit, there was the homeless guy shit. There was a few things that stand out in my memory. I'm like, no, that was as bad. That was as bad as I remember it.
The up and down game, though. And I'm so glad that you captured Patrice laughing like that, which is, there's like 3 times I ever saw him laughing that hard. Then there was the first time he ever saw Voss do the you drop something bit.
Yeah.
That Asian dude was walking down the street with all the boxes right in front of the firehouse next to the old Boston. Oh, no, what time is it?
What time? Yeah, what time it is, yep.
He asked him what time it was, and the guy's struggling. And as he looks at his watch, Voss immediately walked away, and then the guy just goes like, just a look at it. Yeah. I remember Patrice ran down the street, if you can envision that, and was leaning on the hood of a car, dying laughing. And it was echoing. Remember that shit? They used to dump water down on us for being too loud.
Scream. Yeah, shut the fuck up. 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning on West 3rd Street, just being loud. And I'm not, yeah. What a great life.
I know. Those were the days, dude. We had no idea. But having said that, I'm glad no COVID happened then because I would have had to fucking move back home with my parents.
Yeah, you never realized how much fun those and that film of the Up and Down game. It was I think Opie shot that. He shot everything. He got a lot of good moments that we probably never would have had. Just these little.
Wait,
he always had a camera.
What was the Up and Down game? I remember this, but I can't remember it.
We just had a guy who was a friend of the show, and when he would talk about sex, you didn't have to touch him. His dick would get hard. And then you talk about the Mets and his dick would go soft. And Patrice saw this. The guy's just standing there talking. And I would talk to him like, yeah, that girl has big tits. And his dick would go up and it would
get sweatpants on just to let people know. It wasn't like completely. He had like sweatpants on. So Patrice was sitting there, had never seen the bit. I had never seen the bit. And when Patrice sees him starting to get aroused, like, I mean, he almost passed out. He laughed so hard. I still, like, once a year will watch that, Missing Patrice or whatever. And I'm so glad that Opie shot that thing so you can still kind of – and I also love that it kind of gives people, like, an idea of, what it was like to hang out with that guy, how fucking funny he was and everything. But
and how fun – it was fun to watch him. I saw him laugh like that a couple of times. There was that time once in his house when Will Sylvans came in barefoot, and Will had horrible bunions. And I remember Will came in and barefoot, and his bunions were so awful. And we just looked at him and we looked at his feet and we started laughing. And he laughed like that at Will's feet. It was great to watch a guy who's a comedian and he knows that he has to take it. But to watch a guy want to just not be a comedian and walk out of the room and make this go away and stop. So that was the second time we're seeing Will's feet made him laugh like that.
Telling me that story. You said you asked him why his feet had elbows.
Yeah.
I think his big toe was protecting all his other toes. It just kind of crossed over, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Fuck. I can't watch Patrice's stuff, though. I can't do it. Like, I've never seen all of Elephant in the Room. I've seen moments of it, but it makes me too sad. I can't, like, if I hear an O&A bit and he's in it, I'll hear it. But there's very few. And for the documentary and for all that stuff, I was going back through a whole bunch of old photos, and I found some old pictures and sent them. But it's really hard to look. I can't look at it. I can't watch it.
You know what I have? I have I guess when I was working the door at the Boston, a company from North Carolina came up to shoot our specials on DV cameras, which was like the cutting edge technology then.
Right.
And I have an hour of Patrice's stand up on DV tape.
From back then?
From back then, and interviews with him. It's pretty fucking. It was immediately your brain goes, God damn it, I should post that online, and then you're like, I'm gonna be getting views on my channel for something I didn't do, and I was like, I don't know what to do with it, and so I would
wait for like the right project. I think that the Patrice documentary is pretty much almost done, but I could reach out to the director and see if he would want just like a clip of that type of stuff. Because what's funny is, I don't know about you. I mean, I just never took any pictures, and the pictures I have, they're on other laptops and those little stick things. Like it's funny. I have pictures of me doing stand-up from 92 to about 95, and then the next picture is like from 2016.
Oh, really? You're not a picture guy?
Well, I just, I was living with Bob. Dude, put him on the hard drive, and then with the hard drive, you had to put him on the next hard drive and the next hard drive. I think I just lost all of them. So
we did a photo shoot for Edinburgh, me, Patrice, Voss, and Louis Schaefer, where it was the four of us, like the Notorious B.I.G. or like the Tupac, Suge Knight, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg photo, right? But no backdrop, just the four of us. And then we also took solo headshots, and it was a promo for our shows. So one night we're at the assembly lounges, and we're drinking in the bar, and Patrice isn't drinking; he's having like a cider or something. I'm taking a piss, and I see our posters are like above every toilet, and I go, or outside in the thing, and I say, what would be brilliant? Like in my marketing brain, I go, I'm gonna take our fucking posters, like our pictures, I'm gonna put it at the bottom of the urinal. That way, everyone's forced to look at us while they're pissing. They're gonna see us, and they're gonna go, "Hey, I should go see that show." So I take all our pictures from the outside, and I line them to the urinal. But no, Patrice, as you can imagine, his headshot was lackluster. It was like him going like, right? Really angry. So we're sitting in there, and I tell Patrice, I'm like, man, I just had the most brilliant idea. Our shows are going to go from no one there to sold out in a matter of seconds. You watch. And Eddie Izzard walks up and goes, "Oh, mate, I just pissed on your face."
Oh, no.
And Patrice just looks at me and goes, "What did you do?" I took all our pictures and I put them in the bottom of the urinal. He got so fucking mad. He's like, "You can't have everyone in this bar pissing on our face." And then slowly a stream of people going, "Hey, I just pissed in your mouth."
It's funny too, Bert. You mentioned that shit headshot he had. That fucking that he thought where his head looked too skinny for his size. I hated that. We stood outside one time with my picture and his, because I told him your headshot fucking stinks. And he's like, no, it's good. And we stood out and just asked random people whose picture is better, my picture or his picture. Because he had that one where he thought that he really looked kind of like sexy, and he had like kind of pursy lips. What a shit picture that was.
The worst one was his first one. The first one he had, the one that was down to Boston, where he was like, remember that one with the smile? Like he didn't want to, like you could just see his self-loathing. It hung up at the Boston the entire time. I remember his first headshots, he didn't want to pay. He's like, why am I paying all this money for someone? So he had his girlfriend at the time take a picture. I don't remember. They were like, first of all, it was like 3/4 of him. He was across the room. At one point, he had like the cat. That they had a cat or something. He had this stupid black cat on his shoulder. And I didn't know him well enough, but I was looking going like, because he legit asked me, what do you think of these? And I'm just thinking, fucking horrible.
Had his girlfriend take them. When I first moved to LA, there was a guy that instead of having an 8x10, he had a 9x13. And he was like, these will stick out. And he made that were just an inch or two bigger than every other headshot.
Do you have all your old headshots? Do you save like that type of stuff? Do you guys both save them?
I have some in here. I'm finally cleaning up my office here. I found one back when I had hair, and it's a decent smile, but my hair in the front was doing something weird. So there's this weird curl, and somebody brought it up. And after that, I couldn't stop looking at it. I don't know. I had another one. I had one from the late 90s where I've told this story before where moose was a big thing back then, Jimmy, right? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I got the flyer from the Boston Comedy Club. Look at Jimmy from that. Can you see him?
Where? Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was a great headshot. I love that. I love that headshot.
That was a decent one. That was, I think, 1997 or 98. It was like a side headshot. But this is my first one. This is my first one.
Sorry, go ahead.
Can you see it? 1992.
Oh, my God.
Oh, wow.
You look like John Caparillo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love the no sideburns. That was like a big, like, you were a cool guy if you had if you had the straight across.
Yeah.
92, maybe that might have been a little late to still be doing that.
Probably was, yeah. They were done in Woodbridge, New Jersey. This comedian named Gemini in New Jersey, he's like, you got to get headshots. Like, I didn't think I wanted them or needed them, but I just did them because, like, comedians I kind of looked up to at the time told me you got to get pictures. But I save everything, man.
Did you guys get pictures with the guy? Barry used to have a guy named Jeff Nichols. Did you get pictures with Jeff Nichols?
Out in LA?
He would come out to New York every now and then, and Barry would be like, listen, my guy's there. He's going to shoot your headshots. He's giving you a deal. He's got Bill Burr earlier, and then he can cram you in. It's like 1,000.
I get a percentage for driving traffic to him. It's to pay for my Ferrari.
He would leave that shit out. Yeah, he would leave out the percentage part. No, I don't think I ever used him. But then again, maybe Maureen told me, so maybe that's who I went with. I might have went with him for that shot that you just showed. I don't know.
Because we all had the same. It was he had a few moves, and one of the moves was like looking like it was this one of mine of like on your. You'll see me. I'm right at the next to you, I think, Jimmy. It was like on your knees, elbows on your knees, like kind of like a. Dane had it. Like I felt like everyone had that same headshot.
Yeah, Dane had that one. Him sitting on the curb. That was the boy
band. I remember.
That was the boy band. Maybe I'm into hip hop. But a white guy sort of pose.
You know what I was thinking about recently? I was looking up Red Johnny and the Round Guy. Oh, yeah. Do you remember those guys, Bill? Were you around for those guys? They were like John DiMaggio, and I forget. Tim was Red Johnny's was the Round Guy. I don't remember his last name, but
oh yeah, no. There's people still from our age group telling stories of trying to go on after. Remember when they would do It Takes Two? It would beatbox. It takes two to go right, and Matt Frost would be flicking the fucking lights on and off. They were talking about how, like, when people dance, they put that strobe light going on, and they did it so perfectly, and it sounded like you were in the fucking club, and then you just be going like, and Jason Steinberg and fucking Matt Frost with new guys, when they would put you on, wouldn't put you on early. They'd put you on at the end. They had this thing like, we just want killers in this room. So the first time you went down there, they put you on after those guys. And I remember Jason saying Dane was the only guy. Dane Cook was the only guy. He goes, I couldn't bury him. I remember thinking in my head, I fucking knew you guys were trying to bury people.
Couldn't bury him.
I couldn't bury him. No, Dane came down there and like just seamlessly, there's very few people I saw the Boston scene go down and just seamlessly kill. All of us were a little nervous, like, whoa, you know, what is this about? This is a totally different energy. And Dane just went up like he was still doing Nick's Comedy Stop in Boston and just fucking slayed.
I hated following him. The guys who were really hard, obviously Red Giant and the Round Guy were impossible. Dane was very hard. I remember I brought a girl to see me on the Friday Late Show, and I had to follow Maceo. And do you remember Maceo? Maceo would fucking kill. He really killed. And he's probably in there somewhere, right?
With the beret.
He was
dark at the bottom.
Yep, that headshot. That's Maceo's shot.
Maceo was insanely good.
He would destroy. And I remember having this girl with me and wanting to impress her and having to follow him on a Friday Late Show. I got buried a lot in that room. Like I had some really bad fucking shows in the Boston Comedy Club. That was never a good place for me.
Dude, I remember bombing one time the Aspen Comedy Festival. I met some chick there and she was totally into me. It was like a layup. It was going to happen. And then I went up in fucking in the thin air and it was just, just ate my balls. And I got off stage and she was gone.
Yeah.
And like a dumbass, I looked for her for like 15 minutes. Has anybody seen her?
It's the worst. It's the worst when you bring somebody and you sit them down, whether it's at the cellar and you just bring them and you sit them down and then you look at the lineup and you're like, oh, fuck. I'm not going to enjoy what I'm doing.
Dane was the first person I ever saw. He shifted the way I saw stand-up because when I was in New York, people would bomb. That was part of doing stand-up is like you'd see Dave Attell and he'd have a rough set or you'd still see like people would bomb. That was part of the art form. And then coming out to LA and seeing Dane and he was at I think it was a restaurant called Guys and he was upstairs and it was the worst setup. He was standing on a speaker and it was packed and he fucking murdered everyone else. And I was like, the guy never fucking bombed. Like he never had a bad set. And it just was like, so that's the new threshold of like, and then you go back to New York, everyone's still bombing and you're like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, it's I remember we did in Montreal, we did it was like a Just for Laughs gala or something. And everybody was fucking eating their own dick. Everybody like Anthony, what guy from Boston, Bill, he's Anthony Clark, who never bombed. Anthony Clark fucking murdered. He bombed. Every one of us bombed. And then fucking John Panette went on and fucking literally blew the roof off the place. And we're like, God, it was us. Like, it is possible to fucking kill in this room. John Panette went on and just absolutely doing gluten jokes. Like, he was so fucking funny. But yeah, that's the worst is when everybody's eating their dick and the one guy who goes up and wrecks it for everybody.
Well, John Panette, his thing was like he just once he started getting the wave going. I saw that guy coming at Nick's Comedy Stop one time to do a guest spot. He did 10 minutes and got I think he got a 9-minute standing ovation. I mean, it obviously wasn't that long, but
right.
He just went up there and they just fucking leveled. And this is another thing too. Like that place sat like 400 people, and there was probably 80 people in there. So they were all stretched, spread out and shit. And he just brought them all together, murdered. And giving somebody a standing ovation when there's a bunch of other people standing near you feels okay. But when it's just you and then 4 empty tables and they still got up.
Yeah.
I remember him. He was like, oh, sit down. And we were just like, it was the only guy that I ever saw that put Dane's killing at that point in perspective. Yeah. Like that there's many levels beyond what Dane was doing. Because Dane came in and was like, he ended up being the guy every night was closing out the show. And he was going on after grizzled vets and shit. And what he was doing was just like, I just wish that people understood that about.
Yeah.
I just feel like too many people once he got super popular, and then all the haters and all that type of shit. If they knew what the fuck that guy did, he basically came up with a whole new style of comedy and that put There was like 20-year veterans. I remember. I go down to Dick Doherty's at the Yaku Aku, and I remember seeing this headliner pacing and talking to the booker, going, "I shouldn't have to follow this." And he had told her, when he got off stage, the headliner had told the booker to tell Dane to tone it down.
Oh,
wow. I mean, can you imagine, like,
yeah,
you're a 20-year vet, you got to tell some kid who's been doing it for a year and a half to tone it down? And then this is what I loved about Dane. He was like 20, 21, and he didn't do it. And he had the internal strength to be like, fuck that guy. He's the headliner. He should be able to follow anything. Yeah. And I remember thinking, like, wow. This dude, like what he ended up doing, I thought he was going to do within the first fucking 3 years. I just didn't understand how long it took.
Yeah, he got a really bad rap. Oh, sorry, okay.
No, go ahead. Sorry, Jimmy. Go ahead.
No. He got a bad rap, man. Like, and it's funny. Everybody's like, oh, social media. But he was like one of the first guys to make to do what he was doing from outside the business. Like the business came around, but like getting all those followers on social media, he did it before anybody did it. He changed the way everyone in the business pursues being famous and pursues followers and having fans. And that what he did on MySpace, everyone was playing catch up for the next X amount of years. They wanted to do it like Dane had done it on MySpace. And I saw him shoot a special. We were broadcasting like 2007 up in Massachusetts. And he was shooting his special at the Boston Garden. And we went, Opie went, I went, Anthony, a whole bunch of us went. And he was great. Like, I mean, you watched him on that stage and you're like, yeah, he looks like he belongs in the round in front of all these people. It was just him with a stool and a fucking thing. And he looked really good. I'm like, people can hate him all they want. He's up here doing it with just a fucking a glass of water. There's no bells and whistles or bullshit. He was great.
I remember when he, one time when people still didn't understand the power of social media, this is like the MySpace days. He fucking, he was doing some weekend at like an improv. And they were trying to set up all this morning press, the radio and all that. He's going, I don't need to do that. I don't like doing morning radio. And they're like, no, you have to do it. He goes, I don't. He goes, watch this. And he just hit send. And then like within like an hour, like all 6 shows sold out, something like that. And I think that's when people were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then kind of thought it was like an anomaly. And then typical of this business, it was all like, oh, Dane's doing that. So everybody do that. And then everybody will be doing Madison Square Garden in the round. And it just wasn't the case because you weren't him. Like you didn't have that star power thing,
Right.
Something that some people like, well, yeah, I've been in this business long enough that you watch people go, you see the light and you see it gradually go out on them and they get like bitter and shit. And it's like you kind of have to understand where you fit in the business. And you can't look at a guy like that and get like all resentful that isn't happening to you, because it's just like you're not like that vibe. I used to look at it going like that'd be like if Justin Timberlake was doing stand-up. He had like that thing where it was like these chicks were like screaming, like it was like a pop star vibe.
Yeah.
And that's not just something that you just can't go on social media and try to get some followers if you're not born with that. So then I think that's when the fucking resentment came in. There's a number of guys like that in comedy where it's just like they took a beating they didn't deserve.
Well, I think the resentment with Dane came in that, and I can only speak from the group of people I was hanging out at the time, you could almost like felt okay with your career as long as Dane hadn't made it, because you knew he worked hard. You knew he didn't do drugs. He didn't drink. And like, he was funny as shit. And you could almost go, see, that's what's wrong with this fucking business. If a guy like Dane isn't super famous, then what, this business is just fucked. And then all of a sudden his hard work paid off and everyone's like, fuck that, dude. Like it was like a quick turn. It was like, there were certain guys where you're like, God damn it, man. How the fuck isn't he a superstar? And I think Dane was that guy. Here's the other thing is Dane wasn't keeping these secrets. You'd go to his house and be like, oh, let me introduce you to MySpace. Come on, man, I'll get you a MySpace page.
Yeah.
Like sign you up. And you were like, I don't have the bandwidth to be responding to fans all day. And he's like, this is what you have to do, man. If you want to get successful, this is what you have to do. And he'd sit in that office, play guitar, and just respond to fans all day and tell you this is how it's done. This podcast is brought to you by Policy Genius. There's never a bad time to save money. Am I right, Bill?
Oh, you're absolutely right. As always, Bert, I always look to you when I want to hear the truth.
But now more more than ever. Finding smart ways to put some cash back into your pocket can make a big difference. One way to do that is simply by saving on things you already pay for, like home insurance. If you own a home, reshopping for your home insurance rates with Policy Genius could save you a good chunk of change. And the best part is you barely need to lift a finger to do it.
Love it.
I know, right, Bill? You have home insurance?
Yes, I do. I have a home and I have insurance.
We all have home insurance, and you also have life insurance. Do you have disability insurance?
I don't know. Now I'm nervous.
I wish I had disability. God dang, I can barely talk. Anyway, the first thing you want to do is head to policygenius.com and answer a few quick questions about yourself and your property. Then Policy Genius will compare your policy options against top insurers to make sure you're getting the right home insurance coverage at the best possible price. If Policy Genius finds you a better rate than what you're currently paying, then all the work you have to do is done for you. They will do all the work and get you switched. Own a car, Bill?
Yes, I do.
Policy Genius will compare your home and auto policies across different insurers and even mix and match to find you the best savings. They save their customers an average of $1,127 per year just doing that. What could you buy with that money, Bill?
I could buy a lot of styrofoam coolers and fill them up with alcohol.
So
if you become disabled and then be covered.
If you'd like to fill up your backyard with styrofoam coolers, just like Bill, just put a little cash back in your pocket right now. See how much you can save. Save by reshopping your home insurance rates at policygenius.com.
Yeah, it was interesting to watch because now there's this Twitter and Instagram, all these fucking things. But he was the guy who did it before anybody that I can think of, and he was so big in colleges. He had a huge college following. But I always hated the reputation he got when I never thought he deserved it. Like people didn't. I thought he was a safe target for certain comics. Like, yeah, you can shit on Dane and it's cool. But I was like, what the fuck's he doing? That's inspiring such. And I mean from guys who didn't know him. Like, I mean, if you had an issue with him personally, that's different. But I mean from guys who weren't in that circle or around him. I just didn't understand what the problem was.
Yeah, well, it's a fucking brutal business. I think that I think that just comes, it comes with it, dude. If you're going to be doing arenas in the round and every hot chick in the country wants to fuck you, there's going to be a price to pay for that.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a reward in keeping your head low? Like
it's longevity. There's this thing that there's a place that you exist in the middle where you've made it, but you're not all the way, you're not the guy. Because if you're the guy, then eventually someone's just going to knock you off, or if you are the guy, you got to do it like Chappelle. Or like how Chappelle's like the Beastie Boys. Chris Rock does it too, where it's like they're the guy, but they don't need to be in your face.
Right.
12 months out of the year. It's like, I think Chris said that one time, don't be afraid to go away for a little bit and then come back. And that's what I always liked about the Beastie Boys was right when I would be thinking like, fuck me, they haven't put out an album. All of a sudden, bam, it hits you, promo, tour, the whole fucking thing for like a year and a half, and then they were just gone for like 3 years, and it seemed like they knew exactly when to come back. It was right before you were going to start forgetting about them, and when you're sort of, you wanted their album to come out at the height. They seemed to be just able to read the tea leaves.
Yeah, but Rock and Chappelle kind of disappear. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but I feel like they disappear from stand-up in general. Like they go. It seems like Rock will take like a month off, 2 months off, a year off, 13 fucking years off, and then just come back and do it great. Whereas I could never take. I'm having a hard time with this pandemic. Like I could never take that much time away from stand-up. I have to be on stage.
I think they take time off more like you don't see it on TV. So if it's not on TV, you think they're taking time. I don't think either one of them ever took that amount of time off. Like even when like everyone was wondering where Dave was, anytime I would do Cincinnati and I would do Go Bananas in Cincinnati, they'd be like, oh yeah, Dave was down here, did like, 3 hours on stage, he He pops in here a lot. I do the punchline in San Francisco. Chappelle was just here. You know, I don't think anybody is good enough to take that level of time off. Patrice was the only guy who I saw consistently take 6 weeks vacations after doing 2 weeks of stand-up. I just need to blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, dude, you're lazy. You don't want to drive into the fucking station. They go like, it's like, I needed to, it's like, no, dude, the grind got to you. You made a little bit of money and you sat at home and you lived off it.
Yeah. And you didn't want to do anything.
Fucking Eddie Ifts.
Yeah, those guys, you're right. They'll come into the cellar. They're always doing something. They may not be shooting anything, but yeah, you're probably not taking a year off without getting on stage and without performing. Because comedians are weird, man. We're like attention. We desperate for attention. And you could even see it during this thing, like how many guys are like almost panic stricken. Like not for the money, but just for not being noticed for a little while. Like they're afraid. And I understand that instinct, but I've been trying to not like go crazy with it because it just seems like a really a deep, a sad place to be.
Dude, it just happened this weekend. They started opening the gates the other day. I'm texting with a couple friends and we're texting about like, hey, where should we move for a couple months and live and do spots? Like, where do you want to move? Well, I very clearly, I texted with Segura and I was like, do you want to just go get a house somewhere and just go work at a club for a month? And he was like, yeah, let's see if we can find a club. And I started texting around, but the panic started where clubs started opening up to half capacity and comics are like, I mean, I think Dallas has Ron White, Jamie or DL Hughley, Brian Callen and Brendan Schaub, like they're lined up and all the shows are sold out. And the second those gates opened, comics were like, fuck. I mean, Rogan's like, fuck it, I'll move to Texas. And everyone's like, it's not a bad idea. Just set up a residency in fucking Omaha and do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, do an hour every night to 45, 100 people, you know? Right.
Maybe I don't miss it enough. It's never occurred to me to do that. Maybe I really am just getting older and lazy. And, you know, I'm never going to be accused of flying too close to the sun. Let's be honest. So I think, I think I've petered out. This is kind of where I'm going to be, where I'm at right now.
Yeah. I mean, I got a wife and kids and shit. So I don't see myself being able to be like, hey, I heard Albuquerque just opened up. And then there's another thing, too. It's like, I don't want to fucking go down there and sponge up all the fucking stage. All the local people are all, local comics are excited. And then some fucking jerk off like me comes out, starts taking up every fucking, you know, night out there.
You're doing 20 minutes. You're doing 30 minutes. Like, you know, you maybe do an hour, let everyone else do an hour, sell some tickets and get everyone stage time. I don't know. It's not a bad idea.
No, I'm not saying it. Like, I mean, look, maybe to go out there.
Yeah.
But then it's like, how the fuck do I go out there? I mean, how many flights are there? I haven't even looked in on that. Dude, listen, you know, this is what I look at. That's how I look at it. Everybody's going to suck at their job when they get back. All right. The plumber hasn't turned the wrench for a while. It's all going to be at the same level as shit. And then just kind of move forward. Dude, I don't want to fucking move to Nebraska.
Yeah.
But hang on.
I'd rather just do Zoom comedy.
Let me pitch it to you guys. Let me pitch it. Hold on. You've already said no too fast. Let me pitch it to you, okay? Soft pitch. Just hear me out, okay?
Well, the way you were wagging your index finger, it didn't seem too soft to me.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's just say 3 weeks. We get a nice big house about an hour outside Nebraska. We got motorcycles. We got shotguns. We got all the fun things, a big ranch. You got big trucks. We can have a lot of fun out at the ranch. Got some booze, some cigars, sunlight, moonlight at night after the sets. You're going to hear the coyotes go crazy, and we can hunt rabbits in the morning. And then at night, we go in, we drive into the city, we show up at the club, we each do like 30-minute spots to 100 people. Wait staff makes tons of money. We all make a little bit to pay for this adventure, and we're all writing, right? Me, you, Jim, Keith Robinson. Like, tell me that wouldn't be a fun 3 weeks.
First of all, me, Jim, and Keith Robinson in the same house would just be shitting on each other all fucking day long, making fun of each other, saying that you stink. It's not going to fucking, like, I don't want to go out there and shoot rabbits and fucking get on four-wheelers like we're on some sort of fucking same-sex honeymoon. I don't want to do that.
It's a terrible idea, Bert. I'd be sick of that by day 2. I would hate it. I would want to come home.
Yeah,
that's why I'm different than
something a 22-year-old wants to go. I'm going to be 52 next month.
I'm doing it, dude.
Look up at the stars.
You the stuff I have lined up, you would go, you are fucking out of your mind.
Yeah, but do you really want to look up at the stars at night?
Aren't you supposed to be quarantining? We're all going to get together, breathe all over each other.
Not now. This is a couple months from now. Couple months.
Oh, great. And we're all going to hunt rabbits in the morning, then go on stage and do our hunting rabbit. So you ever hunting rabbits? We're 5 comedians. We're all doing the exact same shit, all grabbing from the same bowl. Hey, you ever lived with 5 other comics? I'll tell you, that's pretty wacky. You know what? I hope you all go out there and fucking bomb. And then you create another fucking dip like the end of the 80s in stand-up because they all talk about the same thing. Like the Jack Nicholson impression becomes talking about rabbit hunting in the morning.
And on top of it, I hope you get sick. That's what I really hope. I hope you all go out there and get the fucking coronavirus.
I would love to live in a I would love that scenario. If I can make that happen, I would love to go in and have like an Omaha Funny Bone where you could just go in and do like 30 minutes every night, just write shit during the day and I miss that.
Oh, I mean, I would love to do that if it was in a state or a place that my whole family could live in and be happy. I don't understand. Like, how sick is your family of you that they're all right that you're going to go do this?
Yeah.
Bro, they are done with me. I mean, fucking done with me. And I'm not drinking, so I'm driving them fucking nuts. Like, I'll read something and like everyone outside, vitamin D. We're all sitting outside for 15 minutes together, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
You're still not drinking? That's good.
Joe Rogan podcast when he dropped that shit about the vitamin D. Vitamin D, you can't find it. What is D3? Is that Division 3 fucking vitamin D?
You can't find vitamin D anywhere right now.
You got to
really
sit in the fucking sun. We live in LA. Just go stand outside for a minute.
Yeah, he talked about vitamin D with Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and literally, Jimmy, within an hour, Amazon was like, ships in 3 weeks. And you're like, wow. Everyone ordered vitamin D. He's taking 5,000 milligrams a day. And he says, and this is what's really fascinating, and it could be causality as opposed to, I'm not smart enough to finish that sentence.
Please finish that sentence, Bert.
Causality versus... I don't know. I forget the thing.
Is causality a word?
No, it's as opposed to like, it could be as opposed to whatever. Here's the deal.
Okay.
Black people are getting
it. Finish your thought. I'm hanging on your every word. Causality.
Yep, it's a word.
He said that that she was saying that people of color, not just black people, but people that live in Nicaragua and around the equator, they have vitamin D deficiencies because it's harder for dark-skinned people to get in vitamin D. Whereas Bill, if he steps outside, he gets filled up with vitamin D in 15 minutes.
If I think about going outside, I might overdose on vitamin D.
A lot of times you do overdose. And so they're saying that that's the reason that they find that African Americans in our country are getting coronavirus easier is because they have vitamin D deficiencies. It's like the number one thing in the African American community is a vitamin D deficiency, just based on how hard it is for them, their skin to take it in. That's what they said. And by the way, I'm also paraphrasing and I barely listened. But
so wait, D3 is the vitamin to take?
No, D3 is all that's left after Joe had that guest on. Dude, you know what that reminds me of? The power of that guy's podcast. Do you remember when Oprah Winfrey went like, I don't think I'm going to eat beef anymore. And then she's so fucked with the steak market and hamburger or whatever that all the ranchers got together and tried to sue her for just saying, I'm not going to eat red meat or whatever the fuck she said. I mean, that's like, I don't know. That's like one of the most, as far as like how there's a zillion places you can go to go and promote something, like Rogan is just, I don't know. In this day and age, I feel like he's like when they talked about Johnny Carson getting like a 30 share back in the day. If you wanted to promote something, you want to get on Carson. I think going out on not even going out on a limb here, I'd say it's Rogan, man.
It's the best place. There's nothing like it TV wise. There's nothing you can do that gets as many, because I guess because they're watching it for at least 2 hours. And it gets people really invested, whatever you're doing. But yeah, Joe's podcast, I think, is by far the best thing to promote anything on.
He is, I would argue, and I know everyone can argue against this, but that podcast he did with Michael Osterhaus, who basically was the Chicken Little of the coronavirus, who had a book about the coronavirus and was trying to sell a book about the coronavirus. That podcast scared the fuck out of everyone. I mean, that podcast had more downloads, I think, than anything he's ever done. And that was the scariest fucking podcast. It's the reason I quit drinking. Because I was like, he was like alcohol intake, cigarette intake, cigars, marijuana, all that shit, obesity. I heard that, got up, and I was like, I feel like Joe's talking to me. And then I talked to Joe, and he goes, oh, actually, I was talking to you. You're fat, you're an alcoholic, you need to quit drinking and get healthy. And so, but that one podcast shifted the narrative. It was within that time, and maybe it's just, but that one podcast was fucking.
Wait, so what were they saying? If you indulged in those things, it increased your ability to get corona or
to get it and to die. Like that was the number one reason. And that Michael Osterhaus, I think I'm saying his name right. That podcast was, Joe's like, so this is a guy that specializes in viruses. Like he's a virologist or whatever. And he's, I don't know if that's a word, but
I think so.
And it was terrifying. I said that to Joe when I did the podcast. I called him Chicken Little. I go, that guy fucking scared the shit out of me. And he goes, Joe's like, I think we should be scared. Like legit. And,
well, here's my question. I don't understand why they're making fun of people wearing masks. When did that be? It was like the CDC, I thought, was telling people to wear them. And now I'm seeing everybody saying that wearing a mask doesn't do anything.
That's people think they're being independent by not wearing a mask. Like they think like, hey, no one's going to tell me what to do. And it's like, look, we all feel like dicks in them, but you just wear them. They help.
No, but I'm saying, but somebody I was saying, it might have been on Joe's podcast, was saying that they don't work. They cause you to touch your face and blah, blah, blah. And I at that point, I was just like, I'm just going to stay home. I don't know what to do. Wear a mask, don't wear gloves. Wearing gloves is stupid. But it's like wearing gloves is stupid. Wearing a mask is stupid. It's just I can't keep it straight. So yeah. I just say.
So they're saying now that nicotine is good for you. Like, and it's just to sell articles. It's all these people just needing you to click on their thing so they can sell ads. But there is a legit source saying that they are giving first responders the nicotine patch because whatever nicotine does, it blocks the receptors. That I read that and was like, I'm fucking smoking a cigar tonight. Why would I not smoke a cigar?
Yeah, but you're doing that because it said what you wanted to hear. That's what you have to worry. You got to watch out for that. My favorite thing that's been clicking up as far as like trying to get you to click on it is like, here's a stretch that if you do will eliminate all back pain. And then it's always some chicken like the doggy style, ridiculous with the ass up in the air and like booty shorts on. And I was joking with my wife. I go, why do they got to have that picture? Like that's it right there. It's like you're selling porn. I don't know. I don't read any of that shit. I just fucking stay home. I'm staying home, and I'm hoping. But I got to be honest with you. This independent, we're going to open up, and even if you have nobody in your town, like there's some place out here in California is going to open up, saying this is like an oasis of Corona. It's like, well, what about all the towns around there where they're bored shitless? It's like I'm going to go into a bar, see if I can get laid. I'm going to drive into the oasis. You're just going to be attracting people. This is people coming in case you can't see me here.
Yeah.
They're going to come in.
That was good. That was perfect.
Jimmy, I like to act out the jokes. They're all going to come into the town, and then it's going to be. I think it's going to become a hot zone.
Dude, they got me to click. I fall for those fucking things every time I see one.
Yep.
There was one. It was an article or it was a video on how to empty your bowels completely. And I'm like, I would love to know. And because you're looking for a quick answer, but it's wind up where the arrow is at the bottom of 5 other things. So they're trying to trick you into clicking on other advertisers, and you have to go below to the arrow. But I really clicked on this thinking I would love to empty my bowels completely. I fall for those fucking things every time, whether it's somebody, how to avoid Corona, how to stretch properly. Every time they get me.
The one I get every time is a picture of Precious and they'll go, "You'll never believe what she looks like now." And I'm fucking click 100 different celebrities going, "God damn it, get me to Precious, get me to Precious."
And the payoff is never good.
No. You're like, it's exactly what I thought you would look like now. You look exactly like I expected you to
20
look.
20 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
Celebrities in homosexual relationships that you didn't know about. And you're like, "Shut up." Click it. Portia de Rossi. And you're like, "Fuck yeah." No
Yeah.
shit.
I knew. I click it, a mirror comes up.
Are you still in New York, Jimmy?
Yeah.
So how often do you get out of the house?
I mean, almost every day. I get out just to wind up going to the supermarket. I'll drive out of town to supermarkets, just like to do something different. I'll try to go to different places. I'm getting stir crazy in the house.
I'll tell you, Jim, that headshot behind you is making me think about the Wiz in New York, like the way New York was when I moved there in '95. Where they still had all like those independent stores. Like there was no Bed Bath & Beyond. There was no chain stores.
That's right.
Blown away by that, going like, Jesus Christ. Like if you tried to buy any sort of quality, just like a fucking coffee table, you had to go outside the city. Everything was a shithole. Every fucking deli was a dump.
The Wiz.
I couldn't believe it.
I bought an air conditioning from the Wiz in Union Square, and I walked it back down to where I lived across the street from the cellar. I walked it back down to the cellar with my buddy like a TV. We walked it all the way down there. Fucking didn't want to get a cab. Spent our last cent. It was so fucking hot that summer. We would take shirts, get them wet, put them in the freezer, and in the middle of the night, put a frozen shirt on just to go back to bed for a second. God damn it, the Wiz. I haven't heard. They had a 30-day return policy.
I bought an air conditioner for them too.
Yeah.
And I had a walk-through bedroom that had like a window. It was hilarious. It had a window that looked into like a 3-foot area that you could go all the way up to the roof. And across was another window, which was my roommate's bedroom. It was so weird. So we had to keep the curtains closed for obvious reasons. But I got an AC in there. And it was fucking hilarious because it was such a small room. But there was no like I said, when you opened up, it was a chute up to the roof. So there was no air getting in at all. So I fucking would put that thing on, but then it was such a small room. Within 2 seconds, I'd be freezing. And one night I fell asleep and I woke up and I caught a summer cold. And then I went outside. I had to go do the Boston. It was like 100% humidity. I was walking down the street, felt like I had like fucking malaria.
You know, it's funny. I used to, when I was a kid, I hated being warm. So I would put my pillow on the air conditioner until I went to bed. And I feel that would, like, because you reminded me of that when you said just to be cool for a few seconds. Like, and then I used to sleep on the kitchen floor under the table because it was colder. Like I would literally wake up every day, like I'd be under the kitchen table from the middle of the night. And now I look back and I was probably being molested. Like, you know, I think that I was just cold and I was probably just going to escape and have a safe place to hide under the kitchen table.
I was going to say, yeah, hiding under the table. That seemed like an abused dog to me.
Yeah, that's not a temperature issue. You're probably right.
Jim, how old were you when you first started living by yourself?
30.
Is that when you got your own apartment?
Oh no, that was 33. I was 30 when I moved out. I moved in with Jim Florentine and his girlfriend, and then another one of his girlfriends for 3 years in Cliffside Park. And then in 2002, I moved into New York, and that was my first.
No, but how old were you when you got your own place? No roommates, no nothing.
I was 33.
Oh, really?
The first time I was alone, I was 33. So it's 18 years.
How about you, Bill?
That would be 2000. 32. And I fucking loved it. Russ Maneve used to do a bit when
I'll do 3 Mushroom and Eve bits while you think about it.
I gotta find my keys. I got my keys. He used to do a bit about saying when you have a roommate in New York, when you're alone in the apartment and you're just sitting there enjoying yourself, he said the worst sound ever to hear is and just hearing somebody like, oh fuck, and then they come in. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Just because the apartments are so fucking small, and just to have any sort of alone time in New York is so fucking precious. At least back then, I don't know what it's
Did
like
you
now.
only live with Bobby, or did you live with other people too?
No, when I lived with Bobby. Like there was the guy who owned the apartment, who had the lease, and then he leased out the walk-through bedroom, and then I got that, and then I got a gig that took me out of New York for a little bit. So then I sublet it to Bobby. And then what I was doing, I was bi-coastal for a few years, and I would just come and crash. And then I said, I came out to LA too soon. I got to go back to New York. So then I went back, and it was me. It was the dude who had the lease was in the main bedroom.
Is that the Somali hockey fan?
Yep. And then I slept in the fucking walkthrough. And then Bobby, there was a pull-out couch that he found on the fucking street on 97th Street. He had that in the living room. And every night we'd have to get on either side of the coffee table and we'd move it out of the way. And then Bobby would go to sleep. Go to sleep there. But we oddly really all got along well because we, until we did. I mean, me and Bobby, when we had blow-ups, they were bad. But we were just like three knuckleheads living in New York. We were all like 25, 26, 27. We played roller hockey. We actually had a really good time, but there was a definite privacy issue. If you had to fucking jerk off or something, it was fucking brutal. I remember one time Bobby tried to catch me. I've told the story a zillion times. He's such a fucking creep. He tried to catch me. So I was sitting there, and how it was when you walked in to the apartment, you opened a door, it closed, and then there was the other door. So it was that inside thing where you get buzzed in. So you had to open two doors, and then you'd walk down this long hallway. And we lived on the first floor. You had to walk. It was literally like 20 steps to get to our place, take out your keys. So the thing about it is if you were rubbing one out, you heard the door slam. All right? So it just so happens one day I was sitting there watching TV on my little square fucking TV, watching TV, and there was no sound of a door or anything. It was the middle of the day, and all of a sudden, I just heard the key for half a second, and Bobby fucking bursted in, looking around. I was just looking at him like, dude, what the fuck? And then he tried to be like, oh, hey, what's up, man? What's up? And I just looked at him and I go, were you trying to catch me jerking off? And he started we laughed for like a fucking half hour. And I backed him. I go, wait a minute. I go, you opened that first door and you slowly closed it. Dude, he had to open one of those locks slow as shit. Because all I heard was the second latch. It's just like, Bob, what were you going to do if you caught me?
It was just the idea of catching you. He had to tiptoe down the hallway. Like Bobby literally had to tiptoe down the hallway.
He had to think about it, Jim. He had to think about what time of day it was. Because he used to say that shit. Like, dude, I've never seen your dick. He would say shit like that to me. It's like, yeah, Bob, I plan to keep it that way. I don't feel like giving you the full frontal. I don't think I know you that well. Right? And Bobby, I don't know what his deal was. So he became like obsessed over like a week's period of trying to like catch me jerking off or something.
I've never seen your dick. I mean, how odd is that?
But this is the thing. Bobby's the kind of guy that can say that. And it was just like, hey, it's Bobby, right? So the reason why we laughed was because for 40 minutes, I just broke down. When did you first start thinking about, hey, it's 12:40 in the afternoon. I wonder if Bill's jerking off. You're on the train. Was the excitement building? Were your hands trembling when you had to unlock? How fucking weird are you? And that was like living with him, dude. I had some of the best laughs I had in my fucking life because there was enough of an overlap, both good stuff and bad stuff. Yeah. Believe me, our friendship went up and down during that time, but there was just enough of an overlap. He was just such he's one of the most fun guys ever to hang out with. And he has that weird, we're all fucking weird. And that was his weird thing. But,
that was his also he wanted fucking something to attack you with. Like, if you caught somebody jerking off and you went down to the cellar or Boston with, I mean, that was great fodder. It was like great information.
Yeah. That's what he would have done.
What was the, I remember Steve Byrne telling me Bobby asked to borrow his tape, his camera. and I guess Steve left his audition reel for Saturday Night Live in there, but just the outtakes. And Bobby went up at Caroline's and just played the outtakes.
No, this is an intimate story.
Was it Boston? I want to say it was Boston.
Yeah, it was the Patrice O'Neal roast. So what happened was they had these opening auditions for SNL. So comics were all putting themselves on tape doing characters and shit. So Steve, and it was just open. They were like, they don't care if you're doing comedy fucking 2 days. And Steve Byrne had literally been doing comedy for like a year and a half. So he makes this audition tape. Just imagine you a year and a half into comedy doing an audition tape. You would not want anybody to see it, right? So he filmed himself doing the audition, then uploaded, edited or everything. And he gave the camera back to Bobby, and then he realized that he had left the unedited tape in it. Yep. And he said, Bobby, and he made the mistake of telling Bobby that it was in there. And Bobby's like, yeah, no problem, dude, whatever. And Bobby immediately took the tape, uploaded it to his hard drive, and then gave him the tape. Here you go, dude. Right?
Never tell him.
If you're watching this, you'll open a debate this. This is how I remember it. And then this is the creepy thing. Once again, Bobby, how long were you thinking about catching me jerking off? He kept this fucking thing. He didn't just fucking, hey, Bert, come over here, man. Let's just watch this, and then we'll fucking make fun of Steve, and then I'll fucking put it in my trash. He kept this thing, I want to say, for over a year, waiting for the right moment to unleash it. So there's the Patrice O'Neal roast, that famous one. That the tape of it is up on the internet somewhere. So Bobby goes up. Oh. I think he had to go up first. He had a real tough spot. He's doing his jokes, and he was doing okay. And then just out of nowhere, he sort of set it up. But I don't think people quite understood what was going on because it was still early in the show, and it was a really wild crowd and everything. Hey, it was a wild crowd, right?
Yeah.
Started playing the thing. And everybody was like, what the fuck? And here's the thing. Steve Byrne was not on the dais, and he was also not at the roast. So,
was he not there for that? I remember. I didn't remember that he wasn't there.
No, but we also, in defense of Bobby, we didn't know that was breaking roast etiquette because I made fun of Tony Rock on that one. Yep. And then found out that you weren't supposed to do that because it isn't fair because Tony should have been there and then fucking slammed me. So then I had to apologize to Tony. I felt fucking terrible, right? Because I didn't know. Yeah. So Bobby played that thing, and I just remember everybody like 30 seconds in. I remember Geraldo, rest his soul. We were all going, shut it off! Shut it off! It was fucking horrible.
It was bad.
It was bad. And then I remember going over to the cellar afterward, and Steve Byrne just sitting there eating like a kebab. And I just said, hey, Steve, what's up, man? I go, hey, man, sorry about that Bobby shit, man. He shouldn't have done that. You know, he's just kidding around or whatever. And I just remember Steve just going like, surprised you're even talking to me. Dude, it was fucking brutal.
Humiliating. That's a weird, humiliating thing, like a tape you make of characters and of trying to be a celebrity and it's like when you don't want guys watching that. You don't want guys watching that if you like it. You don't want a room full of comedians watching your fucking audition tape, even if it's good. But if it's the outtakes, I mean, there's nothing more humiliating than that.
But here's the thing, though. If you survive it and you're on the other side, then it's just like, who gives a shit? Because then it's like, all right, well, I took my turn. It's
right.
Over. That's what I used to, whenever I used to take a pounding at the cellar and it would finally move on to somebody else. And I'd just be like, well, I mean, there's no more jokes about this shirt. I can order some food and fucking
relax. I got the beating from the gang, the initiation. They clubbed me and stepped on me and we're good now. I'm done. Yeah.
It is a weird type of comic that can't be made fun of, and I've seen a bunch of them where you start to break their balls and they shut down like it's a childhood thing where they're like, hey, no, man, that doesn't happen. Like, and I'm someone that I get made fun of a lot. And so when I go back and break balls, I'm the guy, oddly enough, that people will pull me aside and go, hey, man, that fucking joke's not cool. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry. You could say everything you wanted about me.
Well, I
nothing worse than a comedian who can't take being made fun of. Like a comedian who gets upset. We've all had a few where you shit on somebody, or you're like, "Oh, what the fuck was that joke?" Or there was one guy got really mad at me because he was on stage, and I'm at the cellar, and I'm going, "Oh, boo. I'm like fucking from the back of the room, and he fucking went ballistic on me. He had just quit smoking, but he was really offended. He said, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "We were joking. What are you?" But he wasn't in that clique, and so he thought that I really meant that he stunk. But I was just fucking around with him.
It took me a while to learn how to take it. When I was a kid, it wasn't done in a loving thing. It was mean. It was trying to humiliate you. It was done until you cried. So when I got older, like my brain would go to that. So it took me a while. Like it took me like 3 years to be like, oh, these guys are just fucking around. And then I actually, Bill, if you wake up and listen to half the shit you say about other people, and then then you learn techniques too. It's like they shit on whatever you're shitting on and just be like, yeah, I'm awful, I stink.
Yeah.
You just agree with it. You're
like
okay.
the Eminem and 8 Mile. You list all the shit that's fucked up, and it just takes away the ability of them to club you with it.
I saw Madonna do that when they found her fucking nudes from early on. This is before she'd done the book. They go, oh, these other, what do you have to say about it? She's like, oh, yeah, you found those? She's like, yeah, I got some better ones. Maybe I'll put those out someday. And they're like, oh, wait, you were supposed to be humiliated and start crying to keep the story going. I watched Donald Trump do that when he got elected. Ooh. He said this about women. He said that about women. He goes, no, I didn't. I said that about Rosie O'Donnell. And they're like, no, you said it about other women. And he was like, yeah, you're probably right. And they were like, no, wait, you were supposed to deny it, and it was supposed to be a scandal, and then we take you down.
Yeah.
I hate when I end a story that really has not a good ending. And
no, but all I'm thinking of is how bad I have to piss.
That's Zoom bombing.
We should wrap this up. We've been doing it about an hour and 30 minutes.
Yes, we have.
This has been a fucking blast, man. I swear to God, I have giggled harder listening to you two.
Thank you guys for having me on. Can I plug my Chip Patreon? I'm just trying to make money on Patreon. So Chip Chippers and I have a Patreon I just started. That's what I'm doing after 30 years in the business. My
Jim,
Chip
I want
Patreon.
you to do it again. I want you to believe what you're selling now. I want that low self-esteem.
Yeah, because I'm on that Patreon. That's a fucking hilarious episode.
But your episode is actually going to be regularly released too.
Okay.
The episode after will start the Patreon. I didn't start with you because I wouldn't do that without telling you. The Chip Chipperson podcast is now on Patreon. There's going to be additional stuff in the full-length video. It's fucking hilarious. It's worth the price. Go and get it. Don't be a dick. How was that? That was pretty good, right?
I loved it.
I challenged them.
All right. The great Jim Norton, dude. Great to see you over Zoom.
Yeah, you too, man.
Yeah, man. I'm hoping, I don't know, like everybody, I'm hoping this shit fucking ends sooner rather than later. So, whatever. I got to start watching got to get up early enough to start watching the Jim and Sam show. So, on Zoom here. Oh, wait, where can you watch that?
It's on YouTube. They just upload it, and it's for free. There's I think everyone is for free right now from Sirius. They're just putting us all up to let people see it or hear it for free. So it's out there. It's easy to find.
All right. I probably knew that. I was trying to wrap up the show and it just unraveled. So I figured I'd throw it back to you.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And great job in the King of Staten Island, man.
Thank you so much. All right. That concludes this episode of the Bill
Bert
Pod
Cast.
It was on you though. All right, man. Thanks for watching. We'll see you. Thanks, Jim.
Guys.
All right, guys. I'll see you later. Thanks.
Stay on, man.